All right, man, peace. So, brothers, a couple of months ago, I released a video in regards to my assertions, my perspectives as to why Bron decided to head out to the HOLLYWEIRD witch coven. Well, this is going to be the follow-up. This is going to be part 2. And we're going to delve into certain components, certain aspects of why Bron decided to relocate to the city of quote-unquote angels. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
For the third time in his career, LeBron James has a brand new batch of teammates to get used to playing with. And yesterday, he spoke with ESPN's Dave McMenamin about what he thinks of his new squad.
Rajon Rondo, competitor. Lonzo Ball, he's destined for greatness, I believe. Lance Stevenson, a dog. He'll run through a wall for you. Brandon Ingram, look out. I think he's next. Kyle Kuzma is a steal of the draft last year. What he's done to his body and what he's done to his mind this offseason is going to be huge, not only for our team success, but him personally.
I tell you, LeBron James reminds me so much of one of these groupie chicks who becomes infatuated with something. They become enraptured by the idea of being associated with something that they've been in awe of for a very long time. And then once they become accustomed to that thing, they get bored and it becomes tedious to them. And that is why LeBron starts to flip out on a lot of his teammates, because after a while, his feminine characteristics start to come out. They start to come to the forefront. When things are not going his way, he throws tantrums. At first, everything seems new. It seems fresh. So he has great things to say about all of his teammates. But when the venture is not as successful as he wants it to be, or when things are not going well, he is going to give up on his teammates. Remember last year, there was a situation during the playoffs, may have either been in the Eastern Conference Finals or in the Finals, where LeBron James caught one of the media members, in his view, trying to get him to shit on his teammates. And he said, "I don't throw my teammates under the bus." Well, right after, I think it was Game 3 of the Finals, LeBron James proceeded to throw his teammates under the bus to accuse them of not having a very high basketball IQ. I'm not sure how any of his teammates can have a high basketball IQ when you don't want to practice with them, because you want to maintain all your energy for the game so that you can put up big stats and pass Michael Jordan and everything. How can they have a high basketball IQ if they don't know what you're going to do because you guys don't spend enough time on the floor? Point being is this. We know that eventually LeBron James is going to try to force a trade, a major trade, of many of the young pieces on the team. And it would not surprise me if he's strategically trying to speak up a lot of the younger members of the team, trying to talk up a lot of their young assets so that they can package them for a trade. And even if he isn't, once again, that's just his nature. When things are new and fresh, he's overly optimistic. But he has an issue maintaining that rapport with his team because they don't ever run a real system. Wherever LeBron James is involved, they don't run a real system. And you'll see that with the other two players in the NBA who play in that style of play, the LeBron James style, which is really the Oscar Robertson 2.0 style, the Russell Westbrooks and the James Hardheads. It would be very difficult for either one of those two players to uproot and go somewhere else because they pretty much have already developed a home where they're at, and they're not players who play particularly great in a real system. LeBron James is the same way. He's just a greater version of those two players.
Before he spoke with our Dave McMenamin, James faced a throng of media members wanting to know how he reached his decision to play in LA.
How much your decision was based on the Lakers and how much on the business opportunities of Los Angeles, and how do you balance those two?
Well, before he answers, because we already know he's going to give a bullshit answer. The reason why LeBron James went back out to LA, or to join the Lakers, I should say, is because he did so at the behest of Nike, who's the main faction telling him and his team what to do. They direct him, they guide him and his team like puppets, and they let him know, look, we need you to act as a major focal point for Nike interests on the West Coast. We're going to try to get Kevin Durant out to the New York area after this year if we can get him to team up with you, so that we'll have, at the very least, we'll have two major Nike assets on the coast. Beyond that, going out to LA is going to allow you to have a far higher chance of ingratiating yourself with the LA market. You can expand and optimize your overall media profile and hopefully transfer that over to cinematic opportunities, so on and so forth. And most importantly, Los Angeles is pretty much the witchcraft capital, the Satanism capital of America. And LeBron James is a Luciferian. I won't call him a Satanist per se, even though who knows, with most of these major athletes and celebrities could be that too, but he certainly is a Luciferian at the very least. Meaning what? He is a witch. He is in the craft. And the other two notable Lakers that he'll tend to confer with, Kobe Bryant and Magic Johnson, they're also very high-level members of the craft, i.e. Masonry, i.e. Luciferianism. So that's another reason for him to be out there. And we also know that LeBron James, as well as Kobe and Magic, they all have ties to the Kabbalah. And I'll be probably addressing that aspect later on in this video.
My decision was based solely on my family and the Lakers.
Yeah, right. So your family said, you know what, Daddy, we want to uproot and go out to L.A. No, that's not what happened. You told them, we're going to head out to L.A. because it's what's best for the family. And they better follow behind you. That's what you did. And look, I have no problem with that. It's not my place to have a problem with that. He's the patriarch. He's the provider. He has the right to tell his family, look, this is where we're heading because this is what's best for us. He's the one who's put them in the advantageous position that they're in right now. But for him to sit there and act like he conferred with his children and his family and they had the opportunity to tell him, no, we don't want to head out there, that's BS. Once again, the I Promise School was completed this past summer to act as an appeasement for him leaving Cleveland and going to LA. So he knew before they put the first shovel into the ground to start building that school that he was going to be leaving in the summer of 2018. So he's full of shit. Bottom line.
Listen, I'm a basketball player.
You're also a wizard. You're also a wizard and a warlock. Keep it real.
I play ball. That's what I do. That's what I live by. And when I do it at the level I do it at, everything else take care of itself. So, as far as my business, those things have been taking care of itself way before I even came out here.
Right, but as we all know, even though your businesses have been taking care of themselves, going out to LA will afford you great advantages. You'll get to meet and greet. You'll get to politic with a lot of the movers and shakers in Hollywood. We all know that. And you're going to make a lot more connections, especially through the Kabbalah. We already saw you on the same ship, on the same yacht as Mr. Jimmy Iovine.
To be a part of the Lakers franchise.
Now back to First Take.
Alright, LeBron's got a lot of slashes in his bio, but ball player is certainly first. He says he didn't go to LA because of Hollywood. Are you buying that?
Yep.
Of course not. Of course I'm not buying it. And of course Max Kellerman is going to say that he's buying it because he's a LeBron James fangirl. At the end of the day, why would he just arbitrarily pick the Los Angeles Lakers? He's 33 years old. The team is not even ready yet. It's obvious that he went out there for reasons other than just basketball. Because if he was going to go to a team for strictly basketball purposes, it would not have been the Lakers. Not at this stage in his career. So what LeBron James has come to understand is that he's going to allow Nike and his other corporate backers to continue to promote his image through commercials and through propaganda as being the greatest player of all time because he reps for the common man, he reps for black people, all this bullshit, when in fact he's a globalist. He's not a so-called pro-black. He's only pro-black for television when it suits him. In real life, he's a globalist, meaning what? He's pro-feminism, he's pro-politician, he's pro-homosexual, he's pro-lesbian, he's pro-transgender, he's pro-globalist. Why is that? Because he's a Luciferian. And those are all Luciferian platforms. That's what he's about. All right? That's why he campaigned for Hillary Clinton in this past so-called presidential election / selection. That's why he was involved in that. And he's also a Kabbalist.
Yep. He went to LA because of Ingram and Kuzma and cap space and Magic. He went to LA because of Magic and Kareem and Kobe and Shaq and the...
All Magic had to do was not mess it up. LeBron already knew he was heading out to the Lakers. That whole thing would have had to have been a complete and utter dumpster fire for him to not sign with the Lakers. And if not, he would have just signed with the Clippers. That's all that was. But he knew that he was heading out to LA.
And the legacy. He went to LA because the sun is shining 300 days a year and it's 75 degrees. Believe me, I miss it.
That last part right there, I must confess. I have changed my feelings about LA.
Yes, it's a nice place to be. It really is.
I will be there sooner than later.
He went to LA because it is a major metropolitan area in this country where you can go to the beach 10 minutes away.
Yeah, that's exactly why LeBron James headed to LA at 33 years old. He said to himself, I want to be able to go to the beach. Right now, he has reached illumination. He understands that he's at the level of the sun. So, of course, he has to go and wear the gold. That is why. Even that emblem that the Lakers have, that basketball, is meant to be a representation of the sun or sun worship. That's why LeBron is heading out there at 33 years old. He has reached illumination.
Now, does Hollywood help? Is he also planning on being, or maybe already, a mogul?
And as most of you brothers probably know by now, especially if you've been on my channel long enough, that term Hollywood is in allusion to the Holly King. The Hollywood is in reference to the quote-unquote magic wand, the priest of Cernunnos or Pan, all right, known in the ancient world as the Lightus, all right, or the crook. Once again, just the magic wand. In Star Wars, it was known as the lightsaber. That's all it is. That's where they cast spells. All right, you have the Holly King and the Oak King. That's why during Christmas, one of the anointed herbs is the holly, because the holly represents Nimrod. Right, the oak represents Cush.
Yeah.
Does it help amplify his brand? Of course, that is part of the package that LA offers. But I lived in LA for 6 years and I didn't particularly like going to Hollywood, like literally Hollywood. But
I lived there 3 years. I think I went to Hollywood once.
Right. And did you like living in LA?
Yeah, I loved it.
Would you like to live there again?
I would consider that.
Same here.
In other words, she has to ask Jalen permission. So that's a good answer. I would consider that. That's a good wife. Good for you. You have to ask Jalen's permission.
Here, same there, right? LA is a desirable destination if you're Molly or Stephen A. or me, and you have no Hollywood aspirations, you still like to live in LA. And in LeBron's case, there's the glamour franchise in the NBA, and there's young talent, cap space, and competent general management.
Besides that, Hollywood is also the location where he's going to have to attend certain bacchanalian ritual parties in order for him to ascend up the levels. Those are just the facts of the matter. There's a reason why Stanley Kubrick made the film Eyes Wide Shut. And then strangely enough, he ended up dead a short while later. I think right before the film debuted or right after the film debuted. Because he was not supposed to release those type of secrets in regards to what goes on in Hollywood. All of these athletes and top actors, they attend those ritual parties in order to ascend up the levels of the craft of Luciferianism. So LeBron James can deny why he went out there all he wants. There's a reason why he went out there. Magic Johnson is acting as his Svengali. Magic Johnson is acting as his Svengali, as his guru. He's the master. LeBron is the apprentice. Even though LeBron he's pretty well acclimated to the overall protocol of the craft. For the most part, he knows what he has to do. He knows that all the world is a stage. He's a pretty good actor. As we saw in his sit down when he was asked questions about his school. He knows what to say. He's pretty decent at thinking on his feet. At least for the people who don't know what they're looking at. They'll look at him and they'll get fooled. They'll get confounded. But for those of us who know what we're looking at, no, he can't fool us. He damn sure can't fool me. That's for sure. But while it's at the forefront of my mind, once again, that term Hollywood is an allusion to the Holly King. You had the Oak King and the Holly King. In the Celtic language, the word for oak I believe was Druze. That's where you get the term Druid from. The Druids had their rituals out in the forest, right underneath the canopy of the oak trees. Because that is what you call a grove. Like when you read the scriptures, you read about the groves. They go out into the woods, into the groves per se, and they engage in their rituals for the woodland gods, or Nunos, or Pan. Okay? He's also known as Inus, I-N-U-U-S. I'll probably be covering those entities more in depth in another video. But the god Ainus, or Pan, he engaged not only in pederasty but also in bestiality. That's another one of the major undercurrents in Hollyweird, is what they call zoophilia, or having ritualistic sex with animals. Jamie Foxx is known for that. Quiet as kept, allegedly. All right, allegedly. But that's what they get down with out there. Blood drinking and all those things, blood drinking, cannibalism, those are part of the Bacchanalian rites. And I'm sure that many people will say, what are you talking about? Don't you think you're going a bit too far? I think you sound crazy. Look, when you understand what you're looking at and you get a grasp of the power on the left-hand side to counterbalance the right-hand side, they venerate, quote-unquote, Osiris or Asar, who's also known as the Bacchus. All right? They venerate his father Pan, who was known in the ancient world as Cush. The original Pan was actually Adam. Okay? Meaning to turn aside. That's what the term Pan means, to be turned aside.
That's why he went to the Lakers.
Well, I'm not going to knock the last part because it's absolutely true. We all love L.A. I've learned to love L.A. significantly. I am moving to L.A. I am moving to L.A. sooner than later. You can book that.
Keep saying that.
It's coming. It's coming. Trust me on that. It's coming. Here's the deal. LeBron James, when we talk about, did he go to L.A. for Hollywood? Hell yeah, he did. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, I'm not calling him a liar by any stretch of the imagination. He is a bad.
Yes, you are. That's why you're prefacing your comments with that disclaimer. You are calling him a liar because you know that he's lying. How could he be heading out to a franchise that's not ready to receive him and he's 33 years old? What he's been promised by Magic Johnson is that with the help of Adam Silver, they're going to do their best to make the Lakers a viable franchise to compete for a championship. That means what? They're going to have a real chance to get Anthony Davis. Why is that? Because that's good for business. The only thing that Adam Silver is trying to decide on right now is if Anthony Davis would be better in Boston to compete against the Warriors or in LA to help out LeBron. That's the only decision-making process that he has right now.
Basketball player. Yeah. But LeBron, and none of this is negative. This is all complimentary to who he is and what he means to all of us. Being socially conscious. Having this insatiable desire to not just be a basketball player, but to have an impact, and having the intelligence to recognize that by being exceptional at your craft, mastering what you do and what you're primarily known for, and doing so in such an extraordinary fashion that it makes money for a multitude of people out there. Did he see the importance of that? Absolutely. That's why he's smart enough to prioritize basketball, because he knew he had the gifts, the skill set, the determination, the focus, the work ethic, etc. to do.
Let's see here. Entrepreneurial spirit. LeBron James 2018 Hollywood projects, movies, Space Jam 2. In other words, he's going to continue the rabbit hole ritual started on Michael Jordan, the other Monarch athlete. He's going to propagate or continue on in that rabbit hole ritual. If you remember in the film Space Jam, they pulled Jordan down the rabbit hole to another world. He acted as Alice, going through the looking glass. But that's another video for another day. Let's see what else. An untitled Muhammad Ali documentary. Yes, that's part of the LeBron James advertising or marketing. They want to align LeBron James with Muhammad Ali. They've already made 5 million Muhammad Ali documentaries. There is no new tidbit that LeBron James is going to find on Muhammad Ali that we don't already know, those of us who actually have read and studied up on Muhammad Ali's life. So this is just a vanity piece for LeBron James to once again try to make himself equivalent to Muhammad Ali in some way, or synchronous to him in some way in the minds of the people. He wants people to think of himself as a modern day Muhammad Ali without having to do any of the real legwork. That's what he's about. And I know a lot of you guys who are fans of LeBron James are going to get upset. I really don't care. I know what LeBron is about. I'm not saying that he does not care about his people, but he certainly wants to promote and optimize his overall profile while pretty much just making merchandise of the quote-unquote black plight. That's why you see a lot of these TV shows that are basically going to be documentaries on how much black people are struggling. A lot of our people are really simple-minded. They'll say, oh, wow, look at this show, Warriors of Liberty City. LeBron James is filming a documentary on how black people are struggling in Miami. No shit. If all you're going to do is make money off of the black plight or black dysfunctionality, what really are you doing? You're not solving any problems, at least not on a spiritual level, on a mental level. I'm sure a lot of brothers will say, well, he gives away a lot of money. All that is cool, but that's all tax write-off. That's what I tried to explain with that school, the so-called I Promise school, where they talked about how he donated $2 million. He didn't donate anything. His foundation did. And that's a tax write-off. That's all that is. So Nike paid for the school, and they put his name on it to amplify his profile. That's what it's about. Now, another movie that he's supposed to be involved in is a body swapping film. That's one of the films that's been greenlit. For those of you brothers who don't know what I mean by a body swapping film, like think of Lindsay Lohan and Freaky Friday. A lot of these films, I believe Zac Efron also was in a body swapping film. You know, those films where the young kid, he looks in the eyes of an older man and, you know, lightning strikes and then they switch bodies. There was a similar sentiment in the film Big, starring Tom Hanks. It wasn't necessarily a body swapping film. It was more that his spirit as a child ended up in his body as an adult. So his spirit went from his child body to his adult body. That's a concept from the Kabbalah, believe it or not. Okay, it's known as Gilgul, Gilgul. It's directly correlated with the concept, the Kabbalistic concept of reincarnation. All right, for those of you brothers that like to teach and promote reincarnation, that's Kabbalistic, i.e. Babylonian, because all the Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism that they got from Babylon. That's all it is. All right. So when you see those type of films about body swapping, it's going into the concept of Gilgul, which is a Jewish Kabbalah. It's a tenet of Jewish Kabbalah, where basically you can go from body to body. All right. I'll probably expound on that more in another video for another day, but it's based on concepts known as Olam Tohu and Olam Tikkun, meaning the dichotomy between chaos and order. Tohu is chaos, Tikkun is order. A lot of times brothers might wonder why a lot of these civil rights groups, they always have their root in a Caucasian Jew. It's because they have a concept called Tikkun Olam, or rectify the world, bring order to the world. All right. That's why they bankroll all these civil rights groups. It's called Tikkun Olam. It's a Kabbalistic concept. Okay. But anyway, let's continue on with this. But yeah, LeBron James is a Luciferian.
Do what he needed to do as
allegedly. Everything I'm saying is alleged.
As an athlete and as a talent, but also the intellect to parlay that into something more than that. You look at him and the deal that he signed with Warner Brothers. You look at the deal, that he's done with HBO, Stars Network, and various others. LeBron James is trying to be a major player off the court.
Not trying to be. He will be very soon because he's making all the connections. He has political connections. He has bigwig connections in HOLLYWEIRD, Stephen A. Smith. When you're on Jimmy Iovine's yacht, you're a bigwig because he's a billionaire. Bottom line. LeBron James is trying to be a billionaire. There's a lot of power behind him. Okay? Both to be seen and unseen.
Now, he's not just doing it in the business community. He's doing it in the influence community, per se. He wants,
i.e. politics and media,
wants to make sure that his voice resonates far beyond the court of play and far in the mind psyche of millions upon millions of Americans and beyond.
For those of you who've been able to see it, LeBron James has put himself in the firing line in regards to being an advocate for that the Democratic nominee in Texas. I believe his name is Beto O'Rourke, the super liberal Caucasian man who pretty much has the idea of everything goes. Everybody can come in through the borders. All you women, please run out there and get abortions. That's his MO. LeBron James was spotted wearing a baseball hat with his name on it. All right. Once again, that's what he's about. His handlers tell him who to support because LeBron James is a pawn for the super liberals. And in return for him aligning himself with many of these incumbent political bigwigs in the super liberal circuit. They're going to make sure that none of his dirty laundry gets out and that he makes the appropriate connections in HOLLYWEIRD. So it's basically a quid pro quo dynamic. You know, you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours. We know that you're a high influencer in the so-called black community. We're going to help you out. We're going to make sure that we boost your profile even more. But this is all we need you to do in return. Just wear this guy's hat. This is what he stands for. Right? And all of this is just Nike influence.
Out there in this world, you look at the deal, you know, look at what Rich Paul is doing. Very, very successful. Just picked up Anthony Davis. Rich Paul is doing a lot of
So, speaking of LA.
Rich Paul with Mark, that's right, Rich Paul with Mark Termini doing an outstanding job. We all know one of the things that jump-started him being able to do that is that he was LeBron's man. We can't take anything away from what he has done on his own. I'm proud of Rich Paul. You look at Maverick Carter. He has done an exceptional job. He deserves to be respected. There is no question. He's made himself a major player in Hollywood as well as various other players on his own. But the jump start, the push, it came from LeBron. That was an assist there. LeBron knows exactly what he's doing. He's not just pulling himself up, but there are others that he's reaching out to and pulling them up with him. And it is all for what we're witnessing as we speak.
But let me tell you why.
Takeover mode.
But let me tell you why you
Hollywood
can't
was
say-
a perfect place for him to pull it off, and he knows
But
it.
let me tell you why you can't say he is here because of Hollywood. Because Hollywood was here and he's been a free agent a couple times. And he didn't wind up here.
Well, that's how you know that it's ritualistic. That's the component that you're leaving out, Max Kellerman. Or maybe you're just acting like you don't understand because you're most likely a Kabbalist yourself, being a Caucasian Jew. And oftentimes you exhibit the traits of someone who is trying to enact the Tikkun Olam concept of trying to save the world by bringing forth your own understanding of how things should be. So I'm sure that you have more understanding than you're trying to convey right now. We know why LeBron James did not come to the Lakers earlier. They were not ready for him and he was not ready for them. Not only from a basketball perspective, but from an enlightenment perspective. There's a reason why, once again, why he came to the land of witches at 33 years old. He had not reached full enlightenment yet.
Because it wasn't the franchise wasn't being competently run. Franchise, there's a sense of the Lakers now that it's being competently run. Now it's a destination. But for a decade about, more or less, little less.
Well, competently run means that there are more experienced witches running it right now. Right now it's being ran by Magic Johnson. It's also being advised by Mr. Kobe Bryant, who, as I've already displayed in the videos that I've done on him, is a very high-level Luciferian. I'll probably be doing another video on Kobe in regards to his Luciferian ties because he makes no bones about it, that guy.
It wasn't a desirable destination. LeBron could have been there several times.
Can I say something? I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial. I'm going to have people saying that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and that's fine.
Well, that's normally what people say whenever you hit it on the mark, and either they want to deny it or they're a low-level thinker and they can't see it yet.
I stand by what I said. One could easily make the argument that LeBron didn't come just because of Magic and the Lakers being competently run. It was that LeBron James let the Lakers know that I'm interested in coming.
If
and
you're
you
competently
need to be
run.
competently run.
Ding. That's exactly what happened. I think it's a little bit of a mix of both, though, Stephen A. Smith, but it's a lot more of that. That LeBron James told the Lakers a couple of years ago at the behest of Nike and, you know, some other influencers that LA was going to be his last stop. That he needed it to be his last stop and to be ready. And Magic Johnson probably had the memo a long time before that he was going to have everything ready. So they came together. There was a meeting of the minds there. I've already stated, I believe in part one, that Magic Johnson told LeBron James allegedly that his son EJ could show LeBron's sons around town. So Lord knows what they have planned for those boys, allegedly.
With that man.
Yep.
Make no mistake about it. Let me tell you something right now. If you think that the Lakers found out, now listen, I was talking about it, whatever, I left it open, but how many months in advance did I look you in your face, Max, and I said, well, you know where you're going, right?
Right.
You know, it was obvious. You understand what I'm saying? We knew In the end, what it comes down to is this: LeBron, don't ever think for 1 second, and that's why I just ignore some of it. As much as I love so many of his people because they're great guys, and the whole bit, I just ignore some of this stuff because the deniability that folks throw into the equation. I mean, sometimes they'll deny that the sky is blue. If you think that,
well, they have to because they're all in the craft. Keep in mind, Steve, but you're in the craft too, Stephen A. Smith, so you already know. It's not just like, that's his clique. Like, those are his brothers in Luciferianism. He raised them up not just out of the streets, but also through the craft, through masonry. So they know that the penalty for exposing the secrets, they know what the penalty is.
LeBron's people.
That's right. It's just annoying sometimes. They deny everything. But here's the deal. If you think for 1 second.
Well, who are you talking about? Maverick?
No. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about anybody associated with it. They can't help it. It's like he's contaminated. They all do it. It's fine. It's nothing offensive. It's all in fun. But here's the deal. If you think that man, LeBron James, just decided at the last minute, I don't know when I'm.
Thank you, sir. I have no idea why people think or believe that this fool was really sitting on an airplane or in some apartment or at a lodge somewhere on vacation with his homeboys and trying to figure out what we're going to do with a week left. Like, give me a break. He flirted. He played around with the Philadelphia 76ers and made them think that he was going to go there, knowing that he had no real intention on going there. I mean, possibly he may have lightly considered them, a 1 or 2% chance if the LA Lakers had just totally turned him off. But that shit was already preordained that he was going to the LA Lakers.
What I'm gonna do? Where I'm gonna go? I mean, LA or Philly? Philly! Oh, I really gotta think about Philly.
Philadelphia is also known as being a city that has very high Masonic ties to it.
I need to take some time to think. My God, I haven't made a decision until July. Really? You really think that LeBron James didn't know months in advance? He's going to LA.
Snatching up houses in LA all over the place.
Not one, but two $20+ million cribs in Brooklyn. It's just an accident. You know what? I just feel like renovating. I want a new gym.
Well, here's the thing.
It's like, really? I don't have time for all of that.
What you're saying is LeBron sends a powerful message to the Lakers, back channeling whatever, telling them, hey, if I think this franchise is competently run, I will come here or consider it.
Back channels will put in place in a year.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if that's the case, and it's very plausible, right? Then the NBA owes a debt of gratitude to LeBron because the glamour franchise, the #1 franchise in the history of the sport, was a laughingstock, and now it's back on the map.
Please allow me.
Right, but Max Kellerman, come on. We all know that they were not going to allow the LA Lakers to remain a laughingstock for very long. If LeBron James did not go there, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, they were going to go to the LA Lakers. Even if it meant that the Lakers would have had to have traded away some of their prospects, some of their assets. The Lakers were not going to be a poor man's team for very long.
Put that camera on me right here, right there. LeBron, I can't thank you enough.
There you go.
For going to LA. I am so happy.
Do the Kevin Hart.
Zoom in. Zoom in. LeBron, I am so happy that you went to LA to join my man Magic Johnson. I got a tear in my eye. It means the world to me. Zoom out.
Stephen A.
Thank you.
Stephen A. Put the camera.
Please, go ahead, do it. Go ahead, do it, Max.
Because without any of Stephen A.'s sarcasm, I would like to say,
I mean it.
LeBron, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for going to the Lakers.
I mean it. I ain't no sarcasm. I'm not apologizing. There's no sarcasm at all. I can't.
These guys, they still live in the 80s and 90s, though. Like, they actually think that the NBA needs the Lakers to be good. You prefer the Lakers to be good because, once again, they're a glamour franchise. But you can go 5 or 6 years without the Lakers being that good, especially if you have a team like the Golden State Warriors out there. The Golden State Warriors right now are what the Lakers were in the 80s. So you have an adequate replacement. Just like the NBA will be okay when LeBron retires. To be quite frank with you, I think that LeBron is already going into heavy decline mode. He's making sure that he monitors how he plays on the court, as opposed to him sitting his ass down and playing less minutes. He still wants to play the same minutes and just play no defense whatsoever. And when he does not have the ball in his hands, he makes no movements whatsoever. So He's not helping to deceive the defense when he's on offense and he doesn't have the ball. So we're already seeing a decline of LeBron James. He just knows how to hide it.
And I tell you how happy I am.
You were sad after Miami.
Oh my Lord, I can barely speak to LeBron.
Not as happy.
I can barely speak to LeBron. The only thing I said to LeBron in 4 years is that I wore long johns because he had me on Lake Erie in 4-degree weather doing sports center outside around the corner from the arena in Cleveland.
Not as happy
I mean,
when
please.
AD meets him there, and the best two players in the conference are both on the Lakers.
You guys are all going to the West Coast. I'll be here in New York. When we come back...
But anyway, that's basically it on that in regards to Mr. LeBron James and why he's out there in LA. It is what it is. All things will be revealed in time. So peace. Okay, so now, brothers, this is going to be the epilogue for the video that I did on LeBron James heading out to HOLLYWEIRD and why he did it. Of course, it was to be closer to many of his Kabbalistic overlords. He's a very high-ranking Luciferian, as are most affluent athletes, especially those of them who are part of the Nike stable. And that includes LeBron, Kaepernick, Serena Williams, Kevin Hart, even though he's not an athlete per se, but he is on the Nike stable, Kobe Bean Bryant, Michael Jordan, Odell Beckham. As we can see here with Odell, he's not only an apprentice of the craft, as we can tell by the honey blonde highlights, and he's always making sure that he dyes his hair blonde. Why is that? Because he's a pupil of Harpocrates or Heru. But he's also an apprentice of LeBron James. LeBron James is his big brother in Luciferianism, and it's LeBron's job to help Odell and guide him along. One of the reasons why Odell Beckham was so upset when he got traded from the Giants to the Cleveland Browns is because he really wanted to be traded to the Rams. Most of these athletes want to end up in LA because that's where all the action is. That's where all the Luciferian energy is. As we can see here, Odell throwing up the peace sign and LeBron pointing at Odell to let those in the know understand that he got this. He's going to guide Odell and help him along in the craft. Okay, so now just to add some further context to what I've been saying about LeBron James and Odell, here's another photo of them at a certain gathering that LeBron James was at, where he happened to be throwing up just about every Luciferian hand sign that he could think of, and we're going to go through many of them. This hand sign here that LeBron James is doing, you'll see many of the more prominent entertainers and Masons, i.e. Luciferians in the entertainment industry, or whoever it is who's considered to be in the most prominent spheres of this society. They love to throw up various hand signs, one of them being the hand under the chin. And I covered this with Odell Beckham a while back, especially in certain photos that he took with Drake. Drake is another guide for Odell in the Luciferian world, both high level, especially Drake, very high level Kabbalist, as well as Luciferian. But all of those various ideologies are just branches on the same tree. What the hand sign that LeBron is doing means is that he's going to keep the secrets under the penalty of death, and he'll give up his own life to make sure that the craft is able to accomplish what their overall end game is, which is placing the proverbial capstone on the top of the pyramid. The capstone representing Heru, the boy child, also representing the illumination of the pineal gland. So now you're able to communicate with the spirit world through the rainbow serpent or the serpent god. I'll be touching on that in other videos. But that's what Masonry is all about. It's about trying to build back up that temple. And the capstone, once again, is the Baitulos, spelled B-A-I-T-U-L-O-S, or the life-restoring child, the life-restoring stone. That's why the scriptures tell us to not worship rocks and stones. It's in reference to the veneration of Heru. But once again, just to get back to the point, the hand sign that LeBron James is doing is meant to convey that he is a holder of the secrets, and he will never give up the great secrets of the craft, even under the penalty of death. Here we also see Odell Beckham throwing up the peace sign for Pan. Once again, the peace sign that people throw up, which is with the index finger and the middle finger, is for the goat god of pederasty, Pan. Now the layman or the uninitiated will not know that or understand that, and they may be incredulous about that statement, but that is the fact of the matter. And Odell Beckham is not uninitiated. He is initiated. He is within the quote-unquote League of Shadows, okay? Remember that? When Batman was being trained to join the League of Shadows, and his trainer, played by Liam Neeson, told him theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the minds of the uninitiated. And then in the last Dark Knight film, when Bruce Wayne or Batman was fighting against Bane, Bane was able to use those teachings against Bruce Wayne to help him understand that your tricks, they work against regular people. They cannot work against me, because I've been trained in the same way that you were trained. Just to get back to the point, they worship the GOAT God. They have to ride the GOAT at the highest levels, meaning what? Embrace pansexuality. They're all sexually fluid. All of these top prominent athletes, they're all sexually fluid. And when they throw up those hand signs, that's what they're trying to convey. They're also conveying that they will never give up the secrets, even if it costs them their life. Okay, so now, brothers, I just want to provide even more context for my statements about the hand sign that LeBron James was making. This was the very famous television star Michael Richards. For those of you who go back to the 1990s, you'll remember that he played Kramer on the show Seinfeld. He's a very ardent Mason, i.e. Luciferian. And we see that he's using a very similar hand sign to what LeBron James used in the photo with Odell Beckham. This hand sign is meant to show that he's willing to have his head impaled on a spike if he were to give up any of the secrets of Masonry. Here he happens to be a Scottish Rite Freemason. Now this person here was a former quote-unquote friend / associate, really handler of the infamous entertainer, the worldwide global superstar Michael Jackson. This person here's name is Uri Geller. And for those of you cats who, once again, go back to the 90s, you remember that Michael Jackson, quote-unquote, befriended Uri Geller back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Why is that? Because Uri Geller was a high-level Kabbalist, magician, MK handler, and programmer, and he had Michael's keys. We see here that he's making the same hand sign that LeBron James was making. Why is that? Because they're both high-level Kabbalists. Kabbalah is the study of the quote-unquote tree of life, actually the tree of knowledge, meaning the teachings of Heru, Tahuti, etc., Baal, so on and so forth. That is why they adhere to all those principles: blood sacrifice, blood drinking, pederasty, zoophilia. They believe that it assists them in opening up their third eye. That's also a way for them to commemorate the sacrifice of their god, that being Lucifer on the left-hand side, Asar or Osiris. But once again, pay attention to the hand sign. Here we see Suge Knight. It's a very famous photo from back in the day. This was on the cover of Vibe magazine. This was the way in which Death Row showed you what they were actually about. They're all witches. All four of them were witches, and their heads are organized in a witch's circle. We see Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tupac, and Suge Knight dressed in the all black. And of course, we see that same Masonic hand sign with the thumb that Michael Richards did. We see Suge Knight doing it as well, right? That was his way of showing those in the know that he's in the craft. They're all in the craft, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that the great work gets accomplished. And their recompense for that is going to be worldwide fame and riches. And whatever ritual they have to perform, they're going to do. Even if it means faking their own deaths. Even if it means having to get incarcerated or faking an incarceration. They're going to do it. If you pay very close attention, the only two people in this photo who are making hand signs, or who are allowed to make hand signs, are Suge Knight and Tupac. Why is that? Because they were the shot callers at Death Row. They were the proverbial shot callers. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, even though they were at Death Row before Tupac, they were put behind him on the totem pole because Tupac was a far higher level witch than either one of them. What Tupac was allowed to do during his tenure or his time period on stage for the craft, very few artists have been allowed to do that. He was almost like the Jason Bourne of the entertainment witchcraft world. It was very difficult for those in the know to be able to duplicate with someone else what they were able to do with Tupac, especially when it came to misleading the youth with the quote-unquote thug life ideology. But Tupac was a very knowledgeable Luciferian and witch. Once again, that is why only he and Suge Knight are making hand signs in this photo. You cannot even see Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre's hands because it was not their time to be allowed to come to any type of forefront yet. It was Tupac's time. But as I was saying, once again, just getting back to Suge Knight, he has the thumb under his chin, showing that he's willing to have his head impaled before he give up any of the secrets of the craft. So now that we know what those hand signs mean, let's get back to the subject of this epilogue, that being Mr. LeBron James. As we can see here, LeBron is with his boo thing, one of his homeboys, i.e. homegirls maybe, Dwayne Wade, and they're both doing the same hand sign to show what? They are both high-level Masons. They're in the craft. They're in the know. They fully co-sign the game plan, that being making sure that you push pansexuality, alternative lifestyles, paganism all across the globe. When you hear many of these athletes talk about God and I want to thank God and things of that nature, they're not talking about the God of the scriptures. They're talking about Pan. They're talking about Baal. They're talking about Bacchus. Pay very close attention also, not only to LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, but pay close attention to their females in the middle. Brothers, how many photos do you take where your woman has her hand over her mouth like that? Most people want to smile. It's very obvious that the reason why Gabrielle Union has her hand over her mouth is because that's a sign or a symbol to show you that she also is a maintainer of the secrets of the craft. She's a HOLLYWEIRD witch, and that's not very difficult to figure out. We can see the effect that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's teachings have had on Dwayne Wade's second son, unfortunately. But he's a product of them. That's what he is. Also, look at LeBron James's wife, Savannah. That's not a pose that she's doing by happenstance. She's crossing her arms and her legs on purpose. You'll see that many people who are entertainment Luciferians, they take photos where they cross their legs and their arms to show obeisance to Asar or Osiris. The X symbolizes the crossroads. It symbolizes rebirth after death. That's why whenever you see the ancient Kemetic pharaohs or mummies, they have their hands across their chest. The X symbolizes the unknown. It symbolizes rebirth. After you take your trek through the underworld, you're a new person. The Luciferians, the high-level Illuminists or quote-unquote Masons, whatever you want to call them, that's what they consider themselves. They consider themselves reborn after they get to a certain level. But getting back to the point, make no mistake about it. Savannah James is as down with the program as LeBron is, as anyone is. You cannot roll in that circle unless you're down with the team, unless you're down with the program. And she is certainly down with the program. And I talk about this a lot with certain brothers. You know, I always tell them the reason why LeBron James's name keeps popping up as someone who's creeping into DMs of white Instagram models and his wife don't care is because she's doing her thing as well. Within that sphere, they have no problem engaging in open forms of sexuality, of orgies, etc. I did a video a while back. I think it was Chris Bosh agrees with Chronicles of Judah about something such and such. And I showed in the video how Savannah James was out on the town with another one of LeBron James's brothers in Pan, that being Chris Paul. And Chris Paul's wife, Jada Paul, has a tattoo of the inverted five-pointed star right behind her left shoulder. She has the goat head tattoo, or the inverted five-pointed star, tattooed right behind her left shoulder. Chris Paul's wife, Jada Paul, does. So a lot of you brothers don't really understand exactly the condition of the battle, exactly what's going on in this world that is presented for us. And then when you look at the fourth member of their little clique, that being Carmelo Anthony, who's another Luciferian, and we know his wife, Lala, we know how she gets down. So that just goes to prove my point once again. They're all down with it. That's why they can hang out together. There are no objections to whatever gets touched on or broached. In order for them to be where they are, they have to partake in the Bacchanalian mystery school system. And that means anything goes. But just to get back to the point, A lot of brothers out there are going to have to learn to come to terms with what this society is actually about. Okay, so now here's another photo of LeBron James and his wife, Savannah. As we can see, LeBron is showing you who it is that he worships. He's throwing up the Manu Cornuto hand sign for the GOAT God Pan. As he should, because that's his real God. I've been telling you brothers that for a very long time. That's the reason why he went out to LA. That was a done deal. That's why even Jerry West, he was sunning Magic Johnson. He's like, I don't know why Magic is trying to congratulate himself for. Everybody knows that, or everybody knew that LeBron was going to head out to LA and join the Lakers. There was no work involved there. And you have so many people asking, well, why is LeBron James complaining? He knew where he was going. Yes, he did know where he was going. He also wants to do some winning on the side, along with participating in many of his, his rituals and so on and so forth to venerate his God. That's what it's all about, brothers. So once again, you see here your homeboy LeBron James showing you that he venerates the GOAT. Here's another photo of LeBron and his wife at the same function. And they're making that same X sign that I told you brothers about a couple of photos ago. They go out of their way to make the X sign because the X sign shows those in the know who will see the photo that they're loyal to their god Asar or Osiris. Okay? And you'll see Savannah, once again, she's a soldier for this. She's not just somebody going along for the ride. They love the adulation. They love the fame. And quiet as kept, many of them embrace the teachings of the occult or the esoteric philosophies from the time that they were teenagers. And their God just guided them to success because he is the God of this world. The GOAT God is the God of this world. But once again, as we can see, and some people might say, well, why are you saying that? How do you know they just didn't have their photo taken? LeBron James is very meticulous when it comes to all images that are sent out depicting him in any way, shape, or form. It's very obvious that Savannah knew that they were having their photo taken. That's why she's looking at the camera. So that means LeBron knew as well. They purposefully formed the X sign with their arms. And we're just going to wrap this video up with this image right here, brothers, because this is the real reason why LeBron James came out to California. He came to be closer to his God, okay? The GOAT God. That's the reason why he's there. I'm sure that LeBron James will also be playing a role that's meant to hearken or correlate itself or associate itself with those same MK Ultra themes, whether it be Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz, things of that nature. So anyway, peace.